Riot Island. When metaphysical reality is the sum of our mental perceptions, basically, that's putting the focus on the subject of the analysis. Imagine, if I tell you, if I show you this, I always use the same example and you'll see what I mean. This is a gaming mouse, right? It's a gaming mouse, right? But if I asked you, why do we call it a gaming mouse? Why do we call it a gaming mouse? Don't worry, this happens to anyone who drops by my stream. It happens to everyone. Every time it happens, I do it again. Why do we call it a gaming mouse? The most usual answer: the human brain enjoys feeling progress bars. Indeed. But imagine if the conclusion of my review would be that it's addictive, without giving you any more logical reasons, without saying that, well, you are mentioning it, the human brain. It's the psychological impact of that sense of progression on the player, and the efficiency of the game that we should measure is how effective the game is at creating that sense of progression, not just coming here and telling you, the game is addictive. For me, it's addictive. Like, I've seen this a thousand times, when a viewer asks the streamer, do you like the game? Is it good? No, is it good or is it bad? And the streamer says, like this, I like it, don't know if you like it. Like that is relativism at its finest. The mental perception can never reach metaphysical reality. Back in ancient Greece, this was solved, huh? That's the depressing aspect of my reviews. They have a depressing aspect. In ancient Greece, this was solved. They could perfectly tell the difference between mental perception and metaphysical reality. Diablo 4 doesn't click with me. Not addictive at all, but Sacred 2 though. Well, but why? Ask yourself why. Why? Ask yourself if there are any gameplay elements in that game that were designed with a philosophy behind them to create a psychological sense of progression, and compare them to Sacred 2. I've done that comparison. I've done it. Besides the elemental system that we've already talked about, and the rest, for example, I can tell you, in the case of Diablo 4, I haven't played it. I don't feel that I'm exploring world. Well, if you don't feel that you're not exploring the world, what does that mean? That the level design of the game, doesn't have either the spawn density, either the extension of the terrain, or the detail, or the quality in detail of the terrain, not having a lot of side. I don't know if in Diablo 4, I haven't played it. Does it have a lot of side quests like Sacred 2, or are there more scars, for example? The density of quests is generally the reason. Or when you're exploring, for example, the degree of intricacy of the level design. I discussed this with the Scarlet Dragoon, an old viewer of the channel, some streams ago at the beginning of the series. We compared how intricate, how twisted the narrow passages are here in Sacred 2, and we compared them to modern games, for example. And at the end of the day, well, today I dedicated the stream of, I could dedicate the first hour of my stream today to just uncover secret areas. So imagine how twisted the terrain is. So the terrain density, not only the extension, the density of the terrain, the quality of the density of the terrain, it's much higher in this game. See that there's an objective reason. Yes, that is an objective reason. See how I could read an objective logical reason as to why it's more addictive. See how I went from a subjective mental perception to an objective conclusion. That is impossible with a relativist mindset. In case you want to Google more about this topic, I won't get into full-on metaphysics, people, because it would exceed the purpose of my stream, and it would get way too terrible for everyone's minds, and I don't want to bore you and and drive anyone crazy. So I want to also keep that in check. Some people have described my stream as kind of like when they watch one either as a bot or something, that is kind of like watching several condensed elements in a very brief period of time. That's what they most highlight to. Going back to the example, if I tell you this is a gaming mouse, yeah, I can see. I will give you this example, and you'll see it. Very down to earth example. This is a gaming mouse, right? Imagine if tomorrow we call it a chair, or any other. The name doesn't matter. Any name that you like. We'll also use another one, which is electronic device. But first, a chair. Keep that. We have to go over there, and here are the objectives, right? The ones that we just grabbed. Imagine if this is more important, trust me, more important. Imagine if I told you, why do we call it a gaming mouse? Why do you call it a gaming mouse? And you would probably answer me with a lot of logic. It's a gaming mouse because we all call it like that, pretty much all the time, because we agreed to call it like that. That precisely will prevent you from getting to the metaphysical essence of the object of analysis. I mentioned this 1,000 times. Relativism is highly effective at managing a country, a territory, a government, but it's ineffective at analyzing isolated objects. And you'll see it in a minute. It must have happened to you. It must have happened to you. Think about your Congress, your country, your own country's Congress. It doesn't matter which one, or Parliament in case it's a European country. I'm trying to follow what you are saying to the best of my ability. English is not my native language, but it's definitely very interesting. Don't worry, it's not either my... Well, in my case, it's not my native language, but I speak English since I was 7, so I don't know if it sounds native or not. I would love to ask that to native speakers more often. I do ask it when I teach English, because I teach to some native speakers. Basically, I teach English not only to ESOL speakers, which are English speakers of other languages, non-natives, but also to natives. Grammar, punctuation, vocabulary, for example, and for the most part, you'll see. Think about your own Congress. Think about your own Parliament. Think about the own system of your country, and think about it. Over at your country's Congress or Parliament, when they are discussing something, the discussion. I started somehow to speak English very recently. You started to speak English, but you speak very well. If you started recently, very very well. At least written, it's very very good. It's very good. What I'm commenting, a metaphysical analysis, it would generally be considered high-level English. So it's like that. Besides, there's also the barrier that all of these concepts are quite complex. They are quite complex. But if you think about it like this, over at your Congress, over at your Parliament, is the discussion reaches a point. We have two opposite positions, two opposite mental perceptions, two opposite opinions, and the discussion reaches a point in which the congressmen or the people over at the Parliament say, well, it must have happened to you also personally when you're discussing with someone, regardless of the language, when you're discussing with someone, and generally when that person runs out of logical arguments and they feel cornered due to the logical arguments of the discussion, they say, well, but that's your opinion and this is mine. And they lay out that their mental perception is different than yours. At that point, relativism prevents reaching metaphysical reality. Why? Because you have your opinion, I have mine, but together we never reach any objective conclusion like you just saw some minutes ago when I mentioned the why objectively the level design was better than in Diablo 4 in Sacred 2. At that point, it's impossible to reach metaphysical reality because you have your opinion. The Congressman A, let's call him, has his opinion. Congressman B has his opinion, and that's it. And we never reach any objective conclusions. But that is needed in order to rule a country, in order to rule a government. As I've said, relativism is effective at managing a country because majority of opinions rules, right? Perfect. And the country decides. We vote, and the congressmen vote, and majority rules. That is effective at ruling a country. But when getting to analyze an isolated object like a book, a movie, a video game. By the way, we'll have the release of the Borderlands movie soon. You can watch the trailer. They uploaded the trailer yesterday. Borderlands movie. I love Borderlands. When analyzing isolated objects, it's absolutely ineffective. 100%. Why? Because the focus of the analysis is on the subject rather than the object. We both have our opinions, our mental perceptions, and that's it. Going back to my original example, and you'll see how interesting this is. Why do we call this a gaming mouse and not a chair? Because we all agreed to call it a gaming mouse? Relativism will tell you that, and it will be effective at managing a democracy or a parliamentary monarchy. They will vote, and majority rules that is a gaming mouse, right? But there are no logical arguments behind it. For example, I'll tell you the perspective of realism that tries to get to the metaphysical reality, to an objective conclusion. This is a gaming mouse because it's a specific combination of molecules and particles that is so specific that could never be the specific combination of molecules and particles that we refer to as a chair. The combination of molecules and particles and atoms is completely different when compared to a chair, right? It's not because our mental perception, the sum of our mental perception, refers to this as a mouse. Together it refers to it as a mouse. The sum of our mental perceptions, that they refer to this as a mouse, is because it's a specific combination of molecules and particles that could never be a chair. And out of two mental perceptions, saying this is a chair and saying this is a gaming mouse, there will always be one mental perception, one opinion, one doxa, as we used to call it in ancient Greece and Rome, a mental perception that is closer, even by the slightest detail, even by 1%, even by 0.00001% in its description to metaphysical reality. Between saying this is a chair and this is a mouse, if we take into account that this object that I have here, this specific combination of molecules and particles, has the same shape, it has the same shape as a creature, as an animal that the human race has been in contact with for millions and millions of years, and subconsciously our mind associates the shape of this gaming mouse with a real animal, the end result we get is that describing this as a gaming mouse is objectively more accurate than describing it as a chair. See, that doesn't have to do with my mental perception of it. It has to do with how metaphysical reality is composed. How the atoms and particles arrange themselves to create this shape and this object of this metaphysical entity. See that it doesn't matter if I think it's a chair or a mouse. It will be closer to this. It will be more accurate to describe it as a mouse than a chair, regardless of my mental perception of it. That is why, well, bet you can see the iceberg by now, people. Sorry if it was way too brutal. I always say this. Sorry if it's way too brutal. But the second you understand that, The second you understand that you can reverse engineer, that you can get away from your mental perception to try to reach metaphysical reality, you can reach the conclusion that I mentioned some minutes ago related to games. That probably the level design, the quest density of Sacred 2 has a higher degree of complexity when compared to Diablo 4, and thus that makes it objectively superior. It's not a matter of my mental perception, it's not subjective. It has to do with it doesn't have to do with my mental perception. I gave you a logical reason, for example, going back to the level design aspect of it, I gave you a logical reason as to why it is more accurate to describe the level design system of Sacred 2 as objectively superior to Diablo 4 when compared, because Sacred 2 is closer in its description to a perfect level design. I know it's extremely abstract what I say, but it makes a lot of sense if you think about it, that the quality of a game, the end result, the conclusion is that the quality of the game isn't subjective. It's not a matter of mental perception of the subject. It's a matter of correctly finding those objective elements that create the metaphysical entity that is the game, and that can be objectively compared. That's why I can say that Sacred 2, due to the quest density, due to how twisted the paths, the degree of quality in the design of the map, not only its extension, it's higher than in Diablo 4 or Diablo 3 or any other linear game that if it's the same as in Diablo 3, it's pretty much a linear path from one point to another. This game is not only open world, I talked about it. If we compare the open world in Sacred 2, going back to the level design, in case you're interested, people, Sacred 2 not only has a pretty specific combination that makes it objectively, due to logical reasons, superior to the average modern RPG game that we usually play nowadays. Because, precisely, the extension of the terrain is that of a huge open world MMORPG, while retaining the high degree of quality of the details that you would normally find in a much smaller game. In a much smaller game, pretty much. And finding that combination is quite unusual and difficult if you think about it. I cannot think of a lot of games that retain that degree of precision, that high degree of detail. Is through here, right? Yeah, we're close. Hey, as I talk about metaphysics, we've explored the whole Dryad Island. This is absolutely crazy. We've explored a whole new region as I talk about this. So, pretty much, it is objectively correct to call this a gaming mouse and not a chair. It's not a matter of my mental perception of it. There, that must be the huntress. She's being attacked. Time to help her. Please, help is on its way. It's objective because it's a specific combination of particles and atoms and molecules that create that metaphysical entity, and its existence is external to my mental perception. Shit, Spirix Hunter has fallen. What the? Don't tell me I failed that quest. Shit. I could fix it. I could fix it, people. We can fix it. Let me close the game, and like that you don't save the failed quests. That was kind of like pretty pretty abrupt. But yeah, that quest is kind of like you reach the area, Huntress gets killed, that's it, you failed. And we're doing a 100% completion of it, so we cannot have that. Going back to the desktop that you said, here are the beat-em-ups that you asked me about. Here you have them. is the system. Are you still playing Pokemon games? Sure. Why do you ask? Yeah, sure. I have a modded. I love Pokemon. Here I have a modded Solgaleo Lunala 3DS. I got a perfect IV Lunala second try on Pokemon Sun and Moon some years ago. Perfect IV, not hacked. 31 on. Read your description. Yeah. I love Pokemon. I generally don't like turn-based games. And and um and Pokemon is the exception. Pokemon Yellow was my Game Boy with Pokemon Yellow that I still have. What's your favorite in the series? Or that's incorrect question. No, what do you mean? No. Ask away. No worries. I don't have the tag. Ask me anything, but no worries. Sometimes people don't tell this to anyone, but people get intimidated because of my metaphysics description and they don't even talk in chat. I've seen it quite a few times. I know that sometimes don't worry, ask me anything. No worries about it. I'm quite talkative on stream and I love debating this with all of you, gameplay elements and that it's my absolute passion. On the Discord, we also have a lot of people who also enjoy doing this. There's 6 members already. My favorite would be Pokemon Gold. Why? Pokemon Heart Gold, the remake, I would choose. Why? Because because it was the original ending of the series. I don't know if you knew it, but Pokemon was meant to be ended in the 2nd generation, and I love the Pokemon series because I think it implements a unique stat system. I usually don't talk about these things. Thank you for asking me. It implements a unique. I don't know if you know about the internal stat system of the Pokemon series, guys. It's a. We jump from metaphysics to another complex topic, but basically, there are a lot of internal variables whenever you catch a Pokemon or you hatch an egg. There's a lot of complex mechanics involved. They are called the IVs and the EVs. And they all contribute to the efficiency of your Pokemon in battle. I don't know if you know about it. We are getting to kind of like metagame / tournament level stuff like this. I haven't participated in tournaments, but I like having strong Pokemon. Legal. All of my Pokemons are legal. I highly recommend, if you like the Pokemon series, the 3DS. A modded 3DS. Because a modded 3DS, as I said, is my expertise. The console, I think the best console of all time is the 3DS. I have a lot of logical reasons behind it. I know it's extremely unpopular. But basically the 3DS has the hardware of a DS inside of it and also the hardware of a Game Boy Advance. So it's actually fucking 3 consoles in one, which is quite unusual. So from a tech perspective, it's a miracle. Also, the reality synthesizer, that's the name of the GPU of the PS3 as well, it was another miracle. But in the case of the 3DS, you can play all Pokemon generations up until Sun and Moon. And my favorite is definitely Heart Gold and Soul Silver. I've finished that game several times. With a modded 3DS, you can trade legal Pokemon throughout all of the series on the same system, without relying on Pokemon Bank, for example. Another highlights that I can give you is that if you have a 3DS, you mentioned that you had all consoles, right, Becca? You mentioned that you had all consoles. If you have a 3DS, highly recommend. Yep. If you have a 3DS, I highly recommend get Pokemon X Eternal, the mod. Learn to mod your 3DS and learn to mod games, and you will be able to play Pokemon X Eternal. Highly recommend you Pokemon X Eternal on the 3DS because it will fix the abhorrent, shitty difficulty of that game that is basically way too easy. New 3DS, new 2DS, you have all of them. All modded. Then you're you're you are you're a soulmate of my interests. God damn it. You have all of them. You have all of them. And modded, you know how to mod them. Then Pokemon X Eternal for you. Straight up. Also another thing that I recommend, Mario Maker on the 3DS is the most complete version of the first one. Because it has the exclusive Pokemon X Eternal. Yes, you can choose. You'll have 4 versions of it. So yeah, Pokemon X Eternal or Pokemon Y. It had another name. Y Eternal. It wasn't Eternal. It had another one. I think I don't know if it was Y Eternal or something like that. That will fix the difficulty of the worst Pokemon game ever released, in my opinion. Basically, I think the worst Pokemon ever released was Pokemon X, and thanks to that mod, it fixes it. Highly recommend it. I highly recommend. Well, you have the Ultimate 3DS Showcase, but it's outdated. X Eternal and Wilting Y found that one. You have the Ultimate 3DS Showcase on my. It's the home video of my YouTube channel. The Ultimate Modded Nintendo 3DS Showcase, but it's outdated. Right now, my 3DS, I need to do another one, but I haven't found time. The one that you'll see there, it's extremely outdated. But anyways, it's pretty solid. My last showcase that I did some years ago of the Ultimate Nintendo 3DS. There you'll find a lot of ideas in case you're looking for those things. That mod in particular will correct those, and I also highly recommend you look for OCMD. OCMD Mario Maker or something like that over at GBA temp forums. That will allow you to reverse engineer Mario Maker 1 maps. It will give you the functionality that Nintendo never implemented to the original Mario Maker, which was the ability to store and share levels. It's a database. Like that, with OCDM or OCMD, the online Mario Maker database. Something like that. Like that, you will be able to inject Mario Maker maps on your 3DS, which is highly important because the Wii U version of it's not as complete as the 3DS version, ironically. So if you can reverse engineer and inject maps on the 3DS version offline, you will have the definitive version of Mario Maker 1, only on the 3DS. You can do the same for the Pushmo trilogy. I'm just using my mind here, people. I hope you all appreciate, as I always say, a bottle of the energy I've requested. There we go. Let me save here, in case we get to the other one, to the hunter that we need to protect. And you can do the same. You can also reverse engineer maps with the Pushmo trilogy and with another game called Gotta Protectors on the 3DS. All of those through homebrew. If you have them modded, I highly suggest you reverse engineer the maps of Pushmo, Crashmo, and Stretchmo, and Gotta Protectors, because they are all games that work like Mario Maker. Also, Hatch Tales on the Switch should have that feature implemented as well, officially. So Hatch Tales / Chicken Wiggle, they are the same game with different names on the 3DS and the Switch as well. Oof. Well, people, I hope you appreciate, people, that I do all of this with my mind. I hate it when YouTube videos are scripted, because they don't feel natural, and I do all of this with my mind and my memory alone. Like, please don't think I'm crazy. At all. It's just that I love these topics, and when I'm not working, I pretty much dedicate myself to explore all of the intricacies of modded consoles. So that Pokemon X Eternal and Wilting Y. Then another thing I would recommend you is that if you have a modded 3DS regarding the Pokemon series, is that the Pokemon Dream Radar has a way, it has a homebrew, no, don't kill her, don't kill her, don't kill her, Don't kill her. No, that's our objective. Get out of here. Don't kill her. No. Don't do that again. Don't do that again. Don't do that again. There we go. Saved. Saved. I highly recommend that. You can, if you don't know, Pokemon Dream Radar was an app that is the predecessor of Pokemon Go, and it allows you. It works offline, and if you install it on your 3DS, you will be able to capture Pokemon like in Pokemon Go, and through Homebrew you can transfer them back to Pokemon Black and White if you activate Twilight menu on the DS, and you can transfer from the Pokemon Dream app that is like the predecessor of Pokemon Go, all of the items and things that you get to Pokemon Black and White. I don't know if you tried that. Pretty much that's also another option that you have. One thing at a time. I'm overwhelmed. I guess I'll start with Hellgate Sacred too. No worries, man. No worries. As you can see, I'm kind of like an encyclopedia on these topics. I don't want to sound obnoxious or arrogant at all. Trust me. It's just that when I start talking about these topics, I deeply love them, and so many things that you can do with it. And the 3DS is precisely my specialty. So, well, you have the Ultimate Modded 3DS Showcase. You have the Ultimate Modded 3DS Showcase. That there, it's outdated. Like, I made a lot of progress by now. I have a lot of extra things that you won't find there, but for the most part, in terms of the Pokemon series and a lot of mainstream series, you'll find that I covered everything. I need to do, besides the Ultimate PS Vita Showcase, I need to do an updated 3DS, the Ultimate 3DS Showcase. With Hellgate, there's a long journey ahead of you, and Sacred 2 as well. So I bet you'll enjoy it thoroughly. I can give you more recommendations. Generally, it's what I do when I'm not working. Pretty much, it's my passion. So I love doing it. I love collecting all of this knowledge. Thank you for saving me. You're looking for blue orchids? They used to grow just here. That was before the energy leak point. See that I mentioned that I was not lying when I said that my streams feel like several streams happening at the same time, and viewers have described it as I can feel my life passing with so many elements condensed in such a short brief period of time. No, good luck on your journey. Yeah, that's pretty accurate. That's pretty accurate. I can jump from metaphysics and game reviews to all of those. So that's why I only stream twice a week, on Tuesdays and Thursdays. If it was more than that, it would be pretty much absolute. There would be massive S words. I cannot say the S word that you imagine. Mass su. Susceptible. Mass su. It's incredible the amount of censorship that there's nowadays. I hate censorship. There was before the energy link person I was able to respond. See for yourself. Aren't they beautiful? You want them? That's impossible.
Task has been accomplished.
Hey, what's going on? First, you saved my life, and now you want to fight? Fine, if you want to die, and guard. What the? All of that. I didn't want to fight.
I'm impressed by that, do you?
That makes no sense. I saved her, and now I have to kill her. No, you shouldn't have done that. Oh well, you asked for it, now you will die. That was fun. Thanks, I'll go to sleep. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for accompanying me in this 37th day of review. Also, thanks Pekka, and thanks to Olympus1982, to both of you. Thanks from the bottom of my heart for accompanying me, and thanks of course especially to you, Pekka, for dropping by and not being shy and chatting with me. Deeply appreciated from the bottom of my heart. And I hope all of my information at the end, as you said, overwhelmed you and kind of like was way too exaggerated. Sorry if it was hard. Thank you, man. Thank you. If it was way too much, you tell me. No worries. Don't be shy. Don't be shy because I look like I'm extroverted, but I'm actually quite introverted. The thing is that these are topics that I'm very passionate about, and my introvertedness is not. Um, it's kind of like not usual. Besides, there's a lot of cultural background, being Italian, that also has to do with that. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Have a great night. And people, since at the beginning of the series, I hope you enjoyed the stream, of course, people, all of you, from the bottom of my heart. That all of my crazy metaphysical analysis and everything is just so we can reach metaphysical reality, objective conclusions, and we elevate and we achieve the highest level possible um, of professionalism and entertainment and quality for the broadcast. That's pretty much it. So, people, since today we started a bit later due to the problem with the sound, the surround sound. Due to the problem with the surround sound, we'll keep going a bit more. I know it's way too late for me, but we'll keep going a bit more, some more 20 minutes. So we reach 3 hours and almost 4 hours. Sorry, as I said, to European viewers. Sorry, deeply sorry to all European viewers that I started late today, because I know it's already extremely late for you. If you're watching this as a YouTube bot, I know it's already extremely late for you at the time that I start, but it's basically I'm only 1 hour ahead of the US East Coast, which is pretty much the same as the US East Coast. So pretty much, I know that it's quite uncomfortable for you guys over at Europe, and I am European, so I can I know that it's extremely uncomfortable when most of the content or the streamers are you have to watch them at 9 p.m. and 10 p.m. I am European, but I don't have the time zone of Europe because I'm from Argentina, so it's a middle ground. A story for another day, people. We can also talk about society and politics other day. I talk way too much about that, so it would be way too much to include it here today when we analyze so many things of the game. Let's just progress with Seraphim Island for now. Thanks for your efforts. I hope you didn't have too much trouble tapping into the line. And in just a moment, I'll brew a potion that you can try out.
I never had any
By the way,
doubts.
people, today we did the ultra secret, never seen before developer dungeon. We had access to it, and it created a quest that will take us all over Ancaria once again. Pretty incredible. Then, if you like, we can go over cultural backgrounds and how incredible it is that Argentina basically it's a mix between it has European culture, Roman Catholic, pretty similar to Europe, though I'm an atheist. But I do believe that Roman Catholic culture has had a positive impact on society, even if I don't believe in God. But for example, Italy, it's pretty similar to Italy, to Ireland, to Poland. All of those countries have pretty much a pretty similar Roman Catholic culture. In Argentina, it's pretty similar to Italy. So there you have a reference, a brief reference. Drink the elixir of visions. Well, here it lives in its right to cover the energy. But don't tell me when you start to feel something.
Be
All right.
prepared to pay the price for
What
this
the?
deed.
We got teleported. We got teleported, people. What the fuck? What the fuck, Bon Voyage? I also love to talk about history, but well, I know it will be way too much. No, we won't do that today. We'll leave it for Tuesday. We'll leave it for Tuesday. A lot of streamers have the problem that they don't have topics to talk about. In my case, it's the other way around. It's the other way around. Like, I have way too many things to analyze to spend even a second silent. That's why I love chatting with you guys, and it makes for a much more rich experience because I learn from the things that you mentioned, and hopefully I provide you with something useful with my metaphysical analysis. Going back to the skill tree system. People. As I was mentioning, before we got into the secret dungeons, the abstract complexity of the skill tree system in Sacred 2 is much higher as well, just like the elemental system that I was mentioning, than the average modern RPG game, due to the fact that there's a dissociation. Please picture this in your mind. There's a dissociation between the learning curve, the leveling curve of this game,
Recognize your mistake.
I guess I killed all of the mobs that I need to kill. Yep, pretty much. That's strange. I must have made a little mistake, but I brewed the potion according to the recipe, sorry. I think I know. That's like that old word that when I studied British English, it was advertisement with this pronunciation, and nowadays we usually say advertising. Generally, there's a difference not only between British English and American English, but also some pronunciations are effective. That's the same. Recipe. I know that the problem is the potion only works on dwarves. You're not a dwarf, although you're about the right size. What? No, that was just a little joke. This is for your troubles.
Never had any doubts.
Alright. Hey, we have a lot of loot here that we need to instantly sell. Going back to the skill tree analysis, people. Why is the abstract complexity of the skill tree found in Sacred 2 higher than the average modern RPG that we stumble upon nowadays? Well, basically due to the fact that there's a dissociation between the leveling curve of the skill of your character, like, for example, think about World of Warcraft or any popular Skyrim game in which you get abilities as you level up, right? You just get abilities as you pretty much level up. As you level up, you get your abilities, right? And the skill tree is nothing but an empty shell responsible for modifying the abilities that you gradually get as you level up. The leveling process is directly tied to the skill tree. You unlock your abilities and you modify them. That's why I mentioned an empty shell. In Sacred 2, you have sub-branches of the skill tree through the lore and focus sub-branches of the sorry, we need to turn in a lot of quests. I was about to depart, and as I analyzed the game a lot, I got lost, and we did a lot of quests that we have to turn in. Let me turn those in, and let's get back to it. Maybe there are nested quests. But going back to the skill tree system, it's incredible how Sacred 2 doesn't follow that abstract model of dissociating the skill tree abilities from the leveling progression. Like, you not only modify the abilities, but you increase their base damage and their regeneration times through the skill tree and the sub-branches of the skill tree. Quite interesting. Quite an interesting and unique system regarding the innovation category of the analysis, because the ingenuity needed, the degree of difficulty of creating a system like this one, it's much higher when compared to the normal skill tree system that we get, which is simply leveling up, you get your ability, and you modify it through the skill tree. Plain, as I've said, one-dimensional management of the skill tree. One-dimensional. You'll see soon that Sacred 2 manages to once again achieve that 2 or 3-dimensional aspect that applies to all of the rest of the aspects of the game. So as a conclusion, this game, the philosophy behind this game is equally applied to a lot of the aspects of it. We'll get more of that in a minute. Monitor Lizard Whisper Kitia, or Kidja. Bring me jungle cat kidneys for my fighting monitor lizard. Well, what do you think of Shiro? A fine specimen, wouldn't you say? I think she means the lizard over there, the four-legged lizard. You say he's the strongest and most beautiful animal on the entire island. He also has the worst breath, which is fitting for a fighting monitor lizard. Sorry, the font is maybe a bit small. This is because I only feed him the best available meat. Meat, we won't get into that discussion again, people. Smell? No. Suit yourself, but while you are here, could you do me, or Shiro rather, a favor? I need fresh jungle cat kidneys. That's Shiro's favorite food. He'll even fetch a stick for a good jungle cat kidney. Would you get me 5 kidneys?
I will help
Typical
you.
fetch quest, as I've said.
In the
I
name of
think the
the Inquisition.
denomination I think the denomination of fetch quest is terrible. I mentioned that some minutes ago to Pika. I think it's terrible because it puts the emphasis when you call something fetch quest. It puts the emphasis on the fact on the storyline of what I usually call the grandeur category of the analysis. On the fact that the side quest doesn't feature a fully voiced quality storyline. It puts the emphasis on that. Go find 5 kidneys, as you see nowadays, as you saw right now. But sorry, as you saw right just now. You are really bringing me the blue orchids. That's wonderful. Keep gold for your efforts. Let me turn that one in as well. And let me update the main quest there, guys. Let me update the main quest. Hey, with my metaphysical talk of the game, we explored the rest of the jungle region and a third of Seraphim Island. Huh? I get lost in thought. This one will be voiced, for example. Here you
Well
have the
met,
contrast.
stranger.
Because it's the main
I
quest.
bet you're surprised to see an elven settlement out here, huh? Someone has to stop the constant invasions by the mutant wasteland creatures, and the dryads are too snooty to do it themselves. That's why the queen permits us to settle here. Why shed your own blood if you can shed someone else's instead? Am I right? We stick close to shore because we're not so popular with the dryads. They think we're exploiting their land just because we're mining and farming and cutting down a few of their precious trees. What an ignorant bunch. It's not like we can eat rocks or build ships out of dust.
Remember, this is part of the main quest, people. We are protecting humanity from the energy. We are part of the Inquisition, and so far we got a message. I don't want to do spoilers. Watch the previous stream because it was a long process. We got to the Aztec temple. We got a message here from the temple guardians who tell us to go to Seraphim to Dryad Island, which is pretty much Great Britain. This game perfectly depicts Europe, huh? Here's my beloved Italy, as I said. Here's Germany, France, Switzerland, Poland, all of the central region here. It's a one-to-one conversion. That's the advantage of having European developers that pretty much knew how to create a replica of Europe. Pretty much it's a replica of Europe. And I mentioned that the weather conditions the other day, that they are also realistic. For example, the rainy jungle region, it's pretty much, it replicates the same weather process as in Ireland and the UK. That the snow gets to the mountains on the western section of Ireland, and then that's why you get a lot of rain in that region. And here's the same. It's the same for the jungle region. And find the medallion. Hey, you have to do it for me. I'm being watched by the dryads, and I can leave. Find the medallion that's been buried beneath. All right. Those are close. Let's go. Let's do sophisticated taste and the smuggler's career, shall we? Sounds like a solid plan. As solid as it'll ever get. So as I was mentioning regarding the precisely the naming conventions, the naming conventions, I think it's a terrible naming convention, Fetch Quest. Why? Why, you must be thinking, why? Well, because as I've said, it puts the emphasis on the how do I put it? It puts the emphasis on the storyline of the game, right? When we say fetch quest, I know it's a subconscious process. When we say fetch quest, it's a terrible naming convention because it puts the emphasis on the fact that it doesn't have a storyline. Doesn't have a storyline. That the side quest doesn't have a storyline, right? And when we do that, we are unconsciously ignoring the influence of the level design on the gameplay mechanics. Interesting. As I've said, we just call them fetch quests because it's kill 5 mobs, kill 10 mobs, kill specific number of mobs, right? And pretty much, when we say that, we put the emphasis, the focus, on the fact that maybe they are not voiced, maybe the quality, the grandeur, that's why I always include this category in my analysis, the grandeur, the impact of the ambience and the storyline on the player won't be that big if you are not doing kind of like the main quest of the game, if you know what I mean. Pretty much the emphasis is like that. We are trying to describe that the fetch quest doesn't have a story. And when we do that, we are completely ignoring the fact that there's a whole influence of the level design. A shout out to Aerendyr Rise of the Mage that I mentioned previously, that to the level design, the main level designer of Aerendyr Rise of the Mage, and always to the main enemy designer of Dungeons and Dragons Dragon Shard, that they highlighted the quality of my analysis. We are ignoring that influence, the influence of the level design on the gameplay mechanics, people. We're completely ignoring it, because as I've said, you could see that I failed that quest some minutes ago about the Dryad, and I had to restart, because we're doing 100% completion. But under normal circumstances, I would have failed the quest, right? Good. There, the level design, the quest design, which is part of the level design, had an influence on the gameplay mechanics. Even if the enemies couldn't kill me, even if the enemies, the mobs, couldn't kill me, even if they couldn't kill me, they could kill the escort. It wasn't an escortee because I wasn't escorting her. The other NPC, and I failed the quest as a direct consequence of the influence of the level design on the gameplay mechanics, people. On the gameplay mechanics. I could survive myself, no problems at all, but I failed the objective. The fulfillment of the objective is dissociated from my combat performance. There we can see the influence of the level design. I failed the quest, rightfully so, because I didn't protect the Dryad. There we have an added layer of abstract complexity from the level design, on the gameplay mechanics. I failed the quest, even if my combat performance was perfect. Hey, no, we have to go back. The kidneys were back there. There you could see the perfect influence of the level design on the gameplay mechanics. This also happens when we enter a dungeon and we find ourselves in a narrow passage, a narrow corridor, in which we don't have a... I highlighted this when I analyzed Aerendyr Rise of the Mage. In a narrow passage in which we have no room to maneuver, to cast spells, or to retreat from and prevent ourselves from being surrounded and killed by mobs. Right? That's the thing. The level design, the degree of influence of the level design on the gameplay mechanics. There we go. Cat bowels. We are looking for those as well, right? Oh yeah, we are pretty much in the area. Pretty much. By the way, pretty good enemy variety added over here at Dryad Island. Pretty good. There you could see, right there,
Almost there now.
that I failed the quest due to the influence of the level design on the gameplay mechanics. That's why it's important. A narrow passage in which you cannot retreat. Imagine if this is something that the very reason why Skyrim and all games with big, huge overworlds need to have dungeons, people. Because if the level design only involves an open field, and we don't have narrow passages, we are degrading the quality of the difficulty of the game, of the level design difficulty of the game, because the player can just run away from danger, and that's why Hellgate London is so good, because the passages are quite narrow as well. But the best example is Aerendyr, Rise of the Mage, because it has an extra relationship, which is the fact that casting spells takes time, because it's all about mages, that game. As I've said, highly recommended. And pretty much the time it takes to cast the spells is an added layer of complexity. Sacred 2 also has. I mentioned this because Sacred 2 also has casting times. It's an extra layer of complexity. That perfectly unites. That perfectly ensures that the level design and the gameplay mechanics complement each other. They complement each other. Thanks to that, the casting times ensure, and all of those small gameplay elements, cooldown times, casting times, they ensure that the influence of the level design on the gameplay mechanics, it's even better. Why? Because adding casting times enhances that influence of being in a narrow passage, having no room to maneuver, and getting killed by a mob of demons in the case of Hellgate London or even Rise of the Mage. You'll have to spend your time casting the spell, and you won't be able to backpedal. By backpedal, it's a pretty common term of that we used in MMORPGs back in the day, that involved basically retreating and never letting melee players engaging with us in Star Wars: The Old Republic. Then we need to tell about another war story about Star Wars: The Old Republic. You have the Legend of Dominion over at the highlighted bots. I'm so sad that one is not watched that much. It's a pretty amazing story how Dominion ruined Electronic Arts server 100% by spamming his preaching. Amazing war story from Star Wars: The Old Republic. Highly suggest you watch it if you want a laugh. So casting times and all of these things, all of these elements, those slight elements, influence that relationship between the influence of the level design on the gameplay mechanics. So it's amazing that Sacred 2 has an insane amount of dungeons, as you could see, people, in which you also have a narrow passages in which you don't have room to maneuver. You don't have a lot of room to maneuver, you cannot run away, and you will get killed. It's always important that the player at least there's a proportion of the level design which ensures that the player doesn't have a lot of room to maneuver, because that increases the abstract complexity of the level design, that increases difficulty, and it's a domino effect. The second you increase difficulty, what we mentioned on Tuesday at the end of the stream, pretty much, it wasn't at the beginning, so it's buried a bit there, so maybe I can repeat it a bit. When you enhance difficulty, you are actually enhancing replayability, and when you are enhancing replayability, you are enhancing the psychological impact of the game on the player, the psychological sense of progression on the player. It's much more efficient. Why? Because the player will spend more time playing the game, and the second the player spends more time playing the game, the human brain works like that, as we were mentioning with Pika some minutes ago. The second that happens, the brain usually remembers through repetition. So games that are longer are the ones that we usually, haven't you noticed it, people? Subconsciously, the ones that we usually subconsciously as well remember like this. Immediately as we think about video games in general. Think about video games in general and tell me which is the first game that you think about. Pretty much, people, there's a high degree of chance that your mind will evocate the image, am I right or am I wrong? The image of the longer games, the RPG games, for example. The RPG games, the longer games, games on the longer, on the side of the spectrum that is longer games. Usually it will evocate images of longer games. That's as when I mentioned the Roman Empire, you picture steely-eyed legionnaires with armors. Um, pretty much, pretty much. I won't do once again history about the Roman Empire, the Moor invasion of Spain, and European history again because it would be way too much. We could do it on Tuesday, people. We can save that for Tuesday. But if I ask you that, you will probably there's a high degree of chance that if I ask you about gaming, the first image will be the games that you will remember the most are those that you spend the most time with, and the games that you spend the most time with, that is directly related to the degree of complexity, of difficulty of the gameplay mechanics, the extension of the terrain, and at the end of the day, the duration of that experience, because your brain repeated that process constantly with that big, huge game for so much time that the neurons of our brain first remember things that we spend a lot of time with. In fact, um, that's the very reason why people say that Dark Souls is so addictive. For example, I got into the. There's also an economic component that we explored on Tuesday, so we are not doing it again. But that's, for example, the reason why people generally the games that they remember the most are those that are extremely long and with a huge extension of the terrain. And developers realized it. That's why we are getting progressively bigger and bigger game maps, because they realized that the psychological process of our brain is that the sense of progression, uh, the degree of efficiency of the impact of the sense of progression on our brain is directly tied to that duration. Directly tied. For example, I can remember Vanquish, highly recommended. It's a third-person shooter. It's been re-released on PCs that I highly recommend it to you. In case you're wondering, people, if it was for me, I would play racing games all day and RTS games, but I know they are extremely dull and boring to showcase on stream. But I love racing games above all, and also RTS games above all, and also offline MMORPGs. But I know that those other two other genres are way too dull, way too boring to showcase on stream. But well, going back to my initial statement, the games that you will remember the most, what are we lacking here? What are we looking for? The Smuggler's Career, Sophisticated Taste. Oh well. These are area quests. Alright. People, it's way too late for me. It's almost 10 p.m. As I've said, thanks to, as I always say, first of all, thanks to Pika for being the 30th follower of the Twitch channel. Thanks to Olympus1982 for being the 31st follower of the Twitch channel. Thanks to all Discord members from the bottom of my heart. Great. Also, I salute KG98 from the bottom of my heart from Discord. I am, in case you watched the VOD, I salute Crowbar, of course, Scarlet Dragoon that accompanied me on Tuesday. I thank you all over at Discord and Twitch followers from the bottom of my heart. Also, Moigat that you dropped the other day and we talked from Spain. Um, also, Junior Tech, also from the bottom of my heart. I also thank you. I thank you all, Discord members and Twitch followers. Thanks to all YouTube subscribers. Today I displayed the notification. Thanks, Pitrick, for being the 45th subscriber of the YouTube channel from the bottom of my heart as well. So thanks to anyone, all followers of the Twitch channel or subscribers of the YouTube channel. Special thanks to Discord members and followers of the Twitch channel. Special thanks to both of you. You all encourage me to continue showcasing all of the forgotten gems that certainly deserve much more praise. Special thanks to you, Pika and Olympus1982, for dropping by and chatting with me a bit. Thanks to anyone who might have taken the time to watch this as a Twitch VOD or a YouTube VOD after I broadcasted it. Once again, special apology, sorry to European viewers that are you guys are most of my stream from the UK, from Spain, from Romania, from Germany a lot since we are playing this one, from Poland, from a lot of European countries. For me, since while I live in the Americas, since I have Italian blood, it's always and I have and I am Italian. It pretty much I also love it to never cut that cultural tie between Argentina never cut its cultural ties with Europe, and I reflect that on my personality. Uh, I deeply appreciate that. I'm sorry that I start so late. I know that it's quite um, terrible. I know it's quite terrible for you because you're 5 hours ahead of my schedule, and you need to do, and there's an extra sacrifice involved with coming with dropping by the stream and either watching this as watching this live or and chatting with me as Pika was some minutes ago. So I deeply appreciate it. In general, thanks to anyone without being a Twitch follower or subscriber or YouTube subscriber, thanks to anyone who might have taken the time to even spend a single second watching my crazy metaphysical analysis um, here over at Twitch or over at YouTube. I deeply appreciate it. And on Tuesday, people, remember the layout. I want to leave this before I go because we'll see each other on Tuesday again. As I've said, it would be way too much. If my streams would be more than 2 times a week, it's way too much. I know that because of the degree of complexity, as I've said, because of how thought evoking these streams are, I think it would be way too much, more than 2 days a week. And besides, I have personal obligations. You'll understand. We will do the ultimate PS Vita showcase once we finish Sacred 2. The idea is we are getting into the final sections of it. We are getting to the end. We explored the secret developer dungeon today at the beginning of the stream. We explored one of the final temples. We got to the secret areas today. Then we proceeded to the jungle and Dryad Island. We'll finish the UK Dryad Island. It's pretty much the same. And we will cover the rest of the of I think it's the last region. One more region, two more regions. Then we'll do as an interlude the ultimate PS Vita showcase that I showed to Scarlet Dragoon on Tuesday. And once we finish Sacred 2, then we can do the ultimate 3DS showcase now because it takes a lot of time and it's way too brutal, and I need to wait until the release of Shantae's Risky's Revolution. I'm lacking the final thing, but you have the outdated one. But well, you can enjoy the Ultimate 3D Showcase there. Then I have the next game ready for review. We'll get to the final analysis of Sacred 2. We finish Sacred 2. We will finish the Secret Developer Dungeon mission, which will involve re-exploring the Ascaron employees. We finish all of that. We do the final analysis of Sacred 2. We do the interlude, the PS Vita Ultimate Showcase, and then we'll continue with another game that I have pretty much selected. Quite interesting, which will be much shorter, so we don't get after this long game. Please understand, I need a shorter game. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been my pleasure. Have a great weekend. Have a great weekend. Hope you all enjoyed my analysis of today and all of the previous analysis that we've done. From the bottom of my heart, thank you, and see you all on Tuesday. Have a great weekend, and hope my recommendations are also useful. And see you all on Tuesday. Have a great weekend from the bottom of my heart. See you all on Tuesday.